The alien market was loud, dirty, and full of cruel voices, but she sat in the center of it all, silent like a broken statue. The alien bride, small and thin, had her hands tied with metal rings that bit into her skin. Her long silver hair fell over her face, hiding the tears rolling down her cheeks. She did not try to wipe them. She did not even lift her head. She had already accepted that her life was over. The ground beneath her was cold. The people around her were colder. Every step, every laugh, every shout made her feel smaller and weaker. Traders walked past her like she was nothing more than an object. Children pointed at her as if she was some strange animal on display. She heard one merchant laugh and say, "She won't last a day with her new owner." She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But the chains held her tight, reminding her she had no freedom left. She thought of her home, the small room she once lived in, the warm light she used to see every morning. She thought she would grow up happy. She thought she would have a normal life. But everything changed when her clan sold her. She still remembered the moment she was dragged from her home, tied like a prisoner, and brought here. It all happened too fast, and now she was just sitting like a helpless thing waiting for her fate. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "No one will save me. No one even cares." Then the ground under her vibrated. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but soon she heard the heavy footsteps. They were slow, strong, different from the fast steps of the alien crowd. The sound made everyone turn. Even the traders stopped shouting. The air shifted. Something felt wrong. Or maybe right. She slowly opened her eyes. Through her hair, she saw boots, large, dark boots she had never seen before. Her heart jumped. Her breath stopped. Because those boots were human, the crowd moved away, creating a path. A tall human man stepped into the marketplace. He looked tired, dusty, and out of place. Humans rarely came here. It was dangerous for them. It was stupid for them. It was death for them. But this man kept walking as if he didn't care about danger at all. His eyes searched the area, scanning faces, scanning cages, scanning every corner. The girl felt something strange, hope, maybe fear. Why was he here? Why was he looking around like he was searching for someone? When his eyes finally landed on her, everything stopped. The crowd froze. She froze too. His face changed, and she could not understand what she saw in his eyes. Shock, pain, anger, or something else. He walked past other prisoners and went straight toward her, ignoring the sellers who tried to call him. He stopped right in front of her. She felt her heart beating so fast she thought it would break her chest. He slowly knelt down. The world around them became distant noise. He didn't speak at first. He looked at her chains, then at her bruises, then at her terrified eyes. She felt ashamed, weak, dirty. But he didn't look at her like she was trash. He looked at her like she was a person. A real person who did this to you, he whispered. She didn't answer. She couldn't answer. She lowered her head again, afraid of making eye contact. Before he could speak again, the auction master shouted, "Human, step away from her. She is not for touching." But the human did not step back. He stood beside her like a silent shield. The girl's breath shook. Was he trying to help her? Was he insane? Humans were not allowed to interfere in alien auctions. There were strict rules. Breaking them meant death. Yet this man did not move. He looked straight at the auction master and said in a steady voice, "I want her." Gasps spread across the market. The girl's eyes widened. Her heart dropped. The human man had no idea what he had just done. She is not for humans. The auction master shouted, "You cannot buy her." "I am not buying," the human replied. His voice was calm, but strong like steel. I am taking her." The crowd erupted. Weapons rose. Guards shouted. The girl trembled so hard she thought she would faint. Why was he doing this? Why was he risking his life for a stranger? The human man slowly reached toward her chains. For the first time in her life, she felt something warm inside her chest. Hope, and hope was the most dangerous thing in this marketplace. The moment the human said, "I am taking her," the entire marketplace exploded with angry voices. Traders shouted, guards rushed forward, and weapons flashed in every direction. The alien bride felt her breath freeze in her chest. No sane man would challenge an alien auction. Not even an army dared to interfere here. Yet this human stood with calm eyes, as if the chaos around him meant nothing. The auction master stomped toward him. He was a large alien with thick scales covering his neck and sharp claws clicking against the ground. His voice rattled the air. "Human, you do not understand where you are. Step away from her, or you die here." The human did not move. He kept standing between her and the crowd like an unbreakable wall. He said nothing, but his silence was stronger than shouting. The alien bride stared at his back, her heart racing. She wanted to warn him. She wanted to say, "Please, don't do this for me. You will be killed." But fear crushed her voice. The auction master laughed loudly. "You cannot take her. She is property of the Crimson House. She is marked. Even touching her is a crime." The human slowly turned his head and said, "Then all of your rules are wrong." The marketplace fell silent. His words cut through the air like a blade. Even the guards hesitated. No one had ever spoken like that here. No one had ever stood against the Crimson House. But hesitation lasted only a second. The guards raised their weapons, electrostaffs that crackled with deadly light. The alien bride tried to pull back, but her chains held her. Her hands trembled. She whispered, "Run. Please run." He heard her. He looked at her for half a moment. And in his eyes, she saw something she had never seen in anyone. Not pity, not disgust, but promise. He bent down, grabbed the metal rings on her wrists, and pulled. The chains did not break. They were too strong. Old, dark, bound with alien tech. But he didn't stop. His hands tightened. His muscles strained. Pain shot through his arms, but he kept pulling like he wanted to rip the world open if it meant freeing her. "Stop him." The auction master roared. The guards charged. The first guard swung his electrostaff at the human's head. But the human moved fast, faster than she expected. He dodged, grabbed the guard's arm, twisted it, and threw him to the ground with a heavy thud. Gasps echoed across the market. No one expected a human to fight back like that. But there were more guards. 5, 6, 8 too many. The alien bride shut her eyes, waiting for the human to fall, waiting to hear the crack of bone or the sound of a weapon hitting flesh. Instead, she heard the sound of metal snapping. She opened her eyes. The human stood above her, breathing hard, sweat dripping from his face, and the chains in his hands were broken. Her wrists were free. She stared at the broken pieces, unable to believe it. No weapon, no alien strength, just raw human will. He grabbed her arm gently and pulled her to her feet. Her legs shook, but she stood. For the first time in a long time, she stood on her own feet. "Come with me," he said softly, but escape was impossible. The guards formed a circle around them. The crowd screamed for blood. Merchants shouted for the human's execution. The auction master roared for the Crimson House soldiers. The human squeezed her hand. "Stay behind me." She wanted to ask why he cared so much, why he risked everything. But there was no time. A guard attacked. The human dodged and struck back. Another one came. Then another. They kept coming, like waves crashing against a rock. And each time, the human did not step back. He fought with the strength of someone who had lost too much before. Someone who refused to lose again. But even his courage had limits. A large alien guard, double the size of the others, stepped forward. He held a massive blade that glowed with red energy. The blade hummed with deadly heat. "Move aside, human," the guard growled. "Or I cut you in half," the girl gasped. She pulled the human's sleeve, whispering, "Please stop. You will die." He didn't listen. He stepped forward. Then everything changed. A loud horn blasted through the market. The crowd stepped back in fear. Shadows covered the ground. From the upper deck, a tall figure in crimson armor walked down the stairs. His presence made the air feel heavier. The alien bride's eyes widened in terror. She knew that armor. She knew that crest. A crimson house hunter had arrived. The hunter pointed at the girl, then at the human. His deep voice shook the marketplace. "Return the bride, and kill the human." The human tightened his fists. The girl's heart dropped. The real danger had just begun. Smoke rose into the air before the fire even touched the stalls. The alien market was already boiling with anger. But when the crimson house hunter pointed toward the human and gave the kill order, everything snapped. A wave of fear moved through the crowd like a cold wind. Even the guards who were fighting just seconds ago stepped back. They knew what a crimson hunter meant: no mercy, no warning, no survivors. The alien bride felt her knees weaken. Her breath turned cold. She had seen this hunter before. She remembered his armor from her childhood, remembered the sound of his boots when he came for her people, remembered the screams. She never thought she would see him this close again. She never wanted to. The human felt her shaking hand and squeezed it, steady and warm. "Don't look at him," he whispered. "Look at me." But it was impossible. The hunter's shadow stretched across the ground until it covered both of them. His voice was like iron scraping stone. "Give her back. Humans have no right to touch crimson property." The human didn't move. "She's not property," he said. His voice was low but firm, like someone who refused to break. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The bride stared at him, shocked that he dared to speak such words. No alien had ever defended her like that. No one even cared if she lived or died. Yet this stranger risked everything without asking anything in return. The hunter lifted his massive hand. A bright blade burst from his wrist, glowing red with deadly energy. "Then you die for her." He attacked. The human grabbed the girl's wrist and pulled her aside just in time. The blade sliced through a market stall, cutting metal like paper. The stall exploded, flames erupting upward. People screamed and ran. The marketplace instantly turned into a storm of fire and smoke. The human didn't stop running. He pulled the bride through the chaos, dodging falling beams and burning cloth. Her legs were weak, but he supported her with one arm, moving fast, steady, determined. She kept looking back, fear twisting her heart. The hunter charged after them, pushing through flames without slowing. "He won't stop," she whispered with trembling lips. "Neither will I," the human replied. They ran past cages of frightened creatures, past broken weapons, past merchants crawling on the ground. The flames spread faster than they could imagine. Smoke filled the air, making it hard to breathe. The bride coughed, her lungs burning. The human pulled off his jacket and held it over her mouth. "Stay close," he said. "We're getting out." Behind them, a stall collapsed, sending a wave of sparks into the air. The hunter stepped through the falling debris like a monster born from fire. He raised his blade again. "There." The bride cried, pointing. Through the smoke, she saw a narrow escape route at the back of the market, a small tunnel used by merchants for secret trade. It led to the outer alleys. It was their only chance. But the path was blocked by a metal gate. The human set her down gently and grabbed the gate with both hands. It was old and rusted, but still heavy. He pulled with all his strength. Muscles trembled. Veins surfaced. But it didn't move. The hunter's footsteps grew louder. The girl clenched her fists. She was useless, weak, broken. She wanted to help him so badly. But she had nothing, no strength, no power, no courage. The human turned his head. "I need you to try," he said. "Push with me." She hesitated. She looked at her hands, small, bruised, trembling. How could they help? "Trust yourself," he said. For reasons she couldn't understand, she did. She placed her hands beside his and pushed. Just a little. Just enough. The gates shifted. The hunter roared behind them. Together, they pushed harder. The metal groaned, then bent, then finally swung open. The human grabbed her hand again, and they ran into the tunnel. The passage was dark and narrow, but cooler than the burning market behind them. Their footsteps echoed. Their breaths were loud. The world seemed to shrink around them, but they weren't safe. A deep boom echoed from behind. The hunter had entered the tunnel. The heat followed him. The light of his blade cut through the darkness. "He's coming," she cried. The human stopped suddenly. She almost crashed into him. He turned, lifted her in his arms, and said, "Hold on." Before she could ask anything, he ran toward the end of the tunnel, where a small opening led to the outer cliffside. But there was a problem. The drop outside was huge. A fall could kill them. The hunter's steps shook the tunnel. The human looked at the cliff, then at her terrified face. "I promised I'd get you out." He didn't wait another second. He jumped. The air rushed past them. She screamed and buried her face into his chest. They fell through smoke, heat, and wind straight toward a narrow river shining below the cliff. The hunter's roar echoed behind them as they plunged into the water. But even as the cold water swallowed them, the girl knew one thing. This human was not normal. This human was willing to die just to save her, and she didn't know why. The river swallowed them with icy force, dragging their bodies deep underwater. The alien bride clung to the human shirt as the current pulled them downstream. Her lungs burned and her eyes stung, but the human's arms stayed tight around her. He kicked hard, pushing both of them upward until their heads finally broke through the surface. She gasped for air, coughing violently. The world above was nothing like the burning market. Here, the sky was gray, the air cool, and the river stretched between tall rock cliffs. The sound of the marketplace had faded behind them. Replaced only by rushing water, the human swam toward the riverbank with the alien girl still holding onto him. When they reached the shore, he helped her sit down on the wet stones. She was shivering hard, but not only from the cold. Her fear had not faded. Her heart still beat with the sound of the hunter's roar echoing in it. The human sat beside her, breathing heavily. "You okay?" She nodded shakily, but did not speak. She kept looking back toward the river, waiting for the hunter to appear from the water like some nightmare creature. "He won't follow us immediately," the human said. "The river will slow him." But her eyes were still filled with dread. "You don't understand," she whispered. "He always finds me." The human studied her face. "Who is he?" She hugged her knees tightly, her chains broken, but the marks still fresh. For a moment, she didn't want to answer. Every time she spoke of her past, pain returned. But this human had almost died for her twice. He deserved to know. "He is a crimson hunter," she finally said. "His name is Raker." The name trembled on her lips like a curse. "He belongs to the Crimson House, the clan that owned me." The human frowned. "Owned." She nodded slowly. "I was born into them. not as family, but as a sacrifice. The human stared at her, shock flickering in his eyes. She looked down at her hands, feeling shame cling to her skin. My race, my clan, believes that a bride must be pure to bring honor. My mother ran away before I was born, so they said I was cursed. A mistake. A stain. Her voice cracked. They planned to sacrifice me on my 22nd cycle. It was decided since I was a child. The human clenched his jaw. The girl could see his anger, not at her, but for her. When I tried to escape, she continued, they sent Raker after me. He caught me once, and after that, they kept me chained. She touched the old wounds on her wrists. They sold me in secret markets so no one would ask questions. I was supposed to disappear quietly. The human took a deep breath, trying to understand the cruelty she had endured. And no one tried to help you? No one would dare, she said. The Crimson House controls 3 planets. If someone helped me, their whole family would die. A tear slid down her cheek, but she quickly wiped it. She didn't want to look weak anymore, not in front of him. The human looked at her gently. I don't care who they are. No one owns you now. His voice was firm, full of conviction. She stared at him, and for a moment she forgot the cold, the fear, the river, and even the hunter. She had never heard anyone say those words to her before, but the peace lasted only seconds. A loud metallic sound echoed from the cliffs. The girl's face drained of color. The human stood up quickly. What was that? She whispered the word she hoped she'd never say again. He found us. The hunter stepped out onto a rock high above them. His armor was dented from the fall, but he stood tall, his glowing blade lighting the air around him. His voice boomed across the river. You cannot run from the Crimson House. The bride trembled. He won't stop until I'm dead. But the human stepped in front of her, spreading his arms protectively. If you want her, he shouted to the hunter, you go through me. The hunter laughed, the sound deep and cruel. You think you can protect her, human? You do not know what she is. The human didn't move. I know enough. You know nothing, Raker growled. He raised his blade. That girl carries a forbidden bloodline. Her life was never hers to keep. She was born to die. The girl gasped and covered her mouth. The words felt like knives cutting into old scars. The human looked back at her, confusion in his eyes, but no fear. What bloodline? The girl shook her head, tears falling again. Please, not now. But the hunter answered for her. She is the last heir of the lost line of Vexera. Her blood can awaken powers that should never rise again. The human blinked. Stunned, the girl whispered, this is why they want me dead. Before she could say more, the hunter leaped down from the cliff, straight toward them. The human stepped forward. The girl screamed. The hunter's blade glowed red. Her past had finally caught up to her, and escaping it might cost both of them their lives. The hunter hit the ground with a sound like thunder, dirt exploding under his armored boots. The alien bride stumbled backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. The human did not move. He stood between her and the hunter as if he were a stone wall that refused to crack. Raker lifted his burning blade, its red glow bright against the gray sky. Move aside, human. Your bones will break first, then your spirit. But the human stepped forward instead. You'll have to try, the hunter growled. And then he attacked. The human grabbed the bride's wrist and dove to the side, just as the blade sliced through the air where they stood a moment ago. The ground split open from the force. Stones flew. A shockwave pushed them back. The bride almost fell into the river again, but the human steadied her. Raker turned slowly, like a predator certain of his victory. You delay the inevitable. The human clenched his fists. If she dies, it won't be inevitable. It will be murder. The hunter lunged again. The human dodged, but this time the blade grazed his arm. A thin line of blood appeared instantly. The bride gasped. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," he said, but the pain showed in his eyes. Raker charged again. The human ducked and rolled behind a boulder, pulling the bride down with him. The blade crashed against the rock, splitting it into 2 pieces. The girl covered her ears from the shock. The human looked at her, breath uneven. "Listen to me. You need to run. Now." She shook her head immediately. No, I won't leave you. You have to." His voice shook not from fear, but from urgency. "He wants you. If you run, he'll follow you. I can slow him down. Slow him down. He'll kill you." She cried. Behind them, the hunter ripped the broken boulder aside like it was nothing. Enough hiding. The human pushed the bride gently toward the trees. "Go," but she stayed. She didn't know where her courage came from, but she stood there, trembling yet refusing to move. "You saved me. I won't leave you to die." The hunter pointed at her. Bold words for a cursed bloodline. The bride flinched. The human stepped toward the hunter. "Don't talk to her like that." Raker tilted his head. "Then come prove your strength, human." The human did not wait. He ran forward, throwing himself into the fight even though he had no weapon, no armor, no alien strength. The hunter swung his blade, but the human ducked under it and punched him twice in the side. The hits landed but barely shook the armored figure. Raker backhanded the human with such force that he flew across the ground and crashed into a tree trunk. The bride screamed. The human groaned, blood trickling from his mouth. But he pushed himself up again, slowly, painfully. Yet he rose. The hunter frowned. "Why do you keep standing?" "Because she deserves to live," the human said. The bride's vision blurred with tears. No one had ever stood for her. No one fought for her. No one risked anything for her, but this human. This human fought against an entire clan's hunter alone. Raker stomped toward him. "Then die for her." The hunter swung the blade down, but the bride screamed, "Stop." For the first time, her voice carried power. Real power. Something deep and ancient. The ground shook lightly. The hunter froze not from fear, but from surprise. He turned his head slowly toward her. "So the sleeping blood wakes," he growled. The human used that moment. He lunged forward and smashed a broken branch into the hunter's helmet, cracking the visor. Sparks shot out. The hunter staggered. "Move." The human shouted. He grabbed the bride's hand and pulled her deeper into the forest. Branches slapped their faces. Roots tripped their feet. Their breaths were sharp and fast. But they kept moving. Behind them, the hunter roared a terrible sound that echoed through the entire valley. "He's coming." The bride gasped, tears still falling. The human squeezed her hand tighter. "Then we don't stop." They ran until the trees opened into a rocky valley. The human collapsed against a boulder, blood dripping from his arm and lip. The bride knelt beside him, shaking. "You're hurt. And it's my fault," she whispered. He wiped the blood from his mouth and managed a weak smile. "It's not your fault." "I made my choice, but why?" She asked, tears streaming. "Why risk your life for me?" The human looked at her not with fear, not with pity, but with something deeper. "Because you're not a curse," he said softly. "You're a person, and you deserve freedom." The bride's heart broke in a way she had never known. But the moment was cut short. The ground trembled. Trees snapped. The hunter was getting closer. The human tried to stand again, even though pain twisted his face. She grabbed his arm. "No, you can't fight him like this. He looked at her with determined eyes. Then we need something else. She swallowed hard. Something else. Her bloodline, her power. The thing she feared most, the thing she was never supposed to use. For the first time, she whispered, "I think I can help you." And the air around them grew strangely warm. The wind changed first. A soft, strange warmth flowed through the valley, even though the sun was hidden behind clouds. The alien bride felt it stirring inside her, like a quiet heartbeat she had ignored her whole life. The human noticed it too. The air around her shimmered faintly, like heat waves rising from hot sand. He stepped closer, breathing hard, bruised and bleeding. "What's happening to you?" She lowered her head, afraid of her own answer. "My bloodline. It's waking." He didn't understand, but he didn't step away either. That gave her courage. "When I was born," she whispered, "the elders said my blood carried an ancient force, a power that once created storms, shaped stone, and commanded fire itself. But the Crimson House feared it. They feared what I could become. That's why they wanted me dead." The human swallowed, his eyes steady on hers. "Then we use your power now." She shook her head quickly. "No, you don't understand. If it wakes fully, I won't be able to control it." The human touched her shoulder gently. "I trust you." Her breath caught. No one had ever said those words to her. No one had trusted her, not even as a child. But before she could answer, a tree exploded behind them. Bark flew in all directions. The ground shook. Raker, the Crimson Hunter, stepped into the valley with smoke rising from his armor. His blade glowed like molten metal, and cracks ran along his visor from the human's earlier attack. His voice thundered across the rocks. "Enough running. The girl dies now. And you, human, your suffering begins." The human moved in front of her again. Even weak, even injured, he stood tall. "Stay behind me," he said, but she grabbed his arm. "Not this time. Let me try." Raker charged forward with the speed of a storm. The human pushed the bride aside and met the attack head-on. Their bodies clashed. The human caught the hunter's blade with his bare hands, the red glow cutting into his skin. He groaned in pain, but he didn't let go. The bride screamed, "Stop! You'll die." The hunter pushed harder. "You cannot protect her. She is cursed. Her blood brings chaos." The human shouted through gritted teeth, "Her blood brings life." The hunter shoved him back. The human fell onto one knee, arms trembling. The bride crawled to him. "You can't keep fighting. He's too strong." The human lifted his head. "Then use your power, whatever it is. Whatever it does, I'm not afraid." She looked at her hands, glowing faintly with warm golden light. The power inside her pulsed like a sleeping beast, waking slowly. "I've never used it," she whispered. "I don't know what will happen." Behind them, Raker raised his blade. "Allow me to end the question." He swung. The bride cried out. The human shielded her, but the blade never touched them. A wave of golden energy exploded from her body like a shockwave. It threw Raker backward, slamming him into a boulder with a force that shattered the stone. The valley glowed with warm light as dust lifted into the air and the rocks themselves hummed. The human stared in awe. The bride slowly lowered her hands, terrified. I didn't mean to." The hunter rose from the broken rock, shaking with rage. His armor was cracked, smoke curling from the joints. "You dare wake that cursed power." The bride stepped forward slowly, her fear fading into something new, something strong. Her voice trembled, but did not break. "My power is not a curse. I was told lies all my life. But now I see. They feared me because I could break them." The human's eyes widened at her steady tone. This was not the weak girl he freed from chains. This was someone rising from years of pain with fire in her veins. Raker roared and charged again. The bride lifted her hand. Golden energy swirled around her fingers like living light. She thrust her palm forward and a burst of pure force slammed into the hunter, sending him sliding across the ground. The human stood behind her, breathless. "You're controlling it." "A little," she whispered. "Enough to keep us alive." But Raker wasn't finished. He dug his claws into the dirt, stopping himself. He struggled to rise, fury burning in his voice. "You cannot win, girl. Your power drains your life. Use too much, and you die." The bride froze. She had never heard that before. The human grabbed her hand. Don't listen to him. But she could feel it. Her heartbeat was faster, her breath thinner, her legs weaker. The power demanded something from her each time she used it. The hunter saw her hesitate and laughed. "See? You are nothing but a doomed child." The bride looked at the human, fear mixing with determination. "If I don't use my power, he'll kill you. And if you use too much, you'll die." The human said gently, "I won't lose you either." Her chest tightened. No one had ever said such words to her. No one had fought for her life. She took a deep breath and said, "Then we fight together." The human nodded. Together, Raker roared and charged, blade burning hot. The bride lifted both hands, light forming around her like wings. The human stepped forward, ready to strike even if it meant breaking every bone. The final battle had begun, with her power rising, and her life slowly slipping away. But neither of them planned on letting go. The valley shook as Raker charged with full power. His blade burned brighter than before, glowing like a slice of molten sun. The bride could feel the heat even from far away. The human stood beside her, fists tight, body trembling from exhaustion. They both knew this was the final moment. There was no more running, no more hiding, only a fight that would decide both their lives. The bride raised her glowing hands. Light curled around her arms like golden ribbons, but her legs wobbled beneath her. Every time she used her power, it drained her. She could feel the weakness spreading through her chest, but she refused to fall. "Oh, no. Not when the human was still standing beside her. Raker leaped into the air, blade aimed at the human's heart. The human pushed the bride behind him, and the bride pushed him forward. Their movements crossed at the same time. A burst of golden light met a burning blade. The valley erupted. The blast threw the human backward, rolling across the ground. He coughed, dirt in his lungs, pain stabbing his ribs. But the bride took the worst of it. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest, golden sparks drifting from her skin like dying embers. "No," the human shouted. He crawled toward her. "Don't use more. You'll kill yourself." She lifted her head slowly. Her silver hair glowed faintly. Her eyes shone with warm golden fire. "I must if he lives. He will hunt you forever." Raker rose from the dust, cracked armor falling off piece by piece. He looked monstrous, now half broken, half burning, but still strong. "Girl, your power belongs to the Crimson House. You belong to us." The bride stood up, shaking but determined. "I belong to no one." The hunter charged again. The human tried to block him, but this time the bride stepped in front. Golden light exploded from her entire body. The ground cracked. The stones lifted. The wind rushed outward like a storm. Even the sun broke through the clouds, lighting the valley. Raker stopped mid-charge, stunned. "Impossible. You cannot awaken this fully." The bride's voice was not loud, but it carried across the land. "You hurt me. You chained me. You hunted me. And now, I end this." Before Raker could move, she thrust both hands forward. A beam of light, pure and powerful, blasted into the hunter's chest. His armor shattered completely. His blade exploded in his hand. The force threw him across the valley and slammed him into the opposite cliff. The cliff cracked. Dust rained down, and when the light faded, Raker fell to the ground and did not rise again. The valley fell silent. The bride collapsed forward, gasping for breath. The golden glow dimmed. Her knees buckled, and she fell. The human caught her before she hit the ground. He held her in his arms, his heart racing in fear. Hey, stay awake. Don't close your eyes. She tried to smile. I'm okay. No, you're not, he said, voice shaking. You pushed too much. You said it drains you. Her fingers touched his cheek softly. I would rather fade than let them take you. His stomach twisted painfully. Don't say that. You're not fading. Not today. Her eyes fluttered weakly. Why do you care so much? Because, he whispered, pulling her close. You deserve someone to care a long time ago. Her tears fell silently. This time, not from fear, but from relief. But the moment broke when shadows appeared on the cliff above. A dozen figures in red armor stepped forward, Crimson House soldiers. The human stood instantly, lifting the bride in his arms. No, not more of them. The soldiers raised their weapons, but then something unexpected happened. They dropped to their knees, all of them. Their leader shouted, voice trembling, "We kneel to the last heir of Exora. The ancient bloodline lives." The human blinked, kneeling to her. The bride's eyes widened. They're not here to kill us. The leader shook his head quickly. The hunter acted alone. The Crimson Council forbade her execution. She was meant to lead, not die. Her bloodline is sacred. The bride's breath caught. Sacred. She had been told her whole life she was cursed. Hunted like an animal, sold like an object, chained like a prisoner. But now entire warriors bowed to her. She turned to the human with trembling eyes. You saved me. You made them see me differently. He smiled softly. You saved yourself. The leader raised his head. My lady, one question remains. Who do you choose to stand beside you? The soldiers watched. The valley was silent. The bride looked at the human. He stood, tired, hurt, dirty, but he had fought armies for her. He had held her when she cried. He had given her freedom when she had none. She took his hand, simple and gentle. The soldiers gasped. I choose him, she said. The human who changed everything. The human squeezed her hand back. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly free. The end.